How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about SNDL Sundial growers, which ended up having a green day inside of the market. If you've been following the strategy we've been talking about for quite some time, hey, you could have taken some profits or you would have been up right now. But I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you are a shareholder or you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to be going over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support, we want to know resistance, and where we can start protecting our profits. And then secondly, we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and as well as the short interest information. This is definitely key because it does have an impact on the stock price. Then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know, are institutions loading up on large scale orders? We're going to be finding out. And then when all of that is done, we'll be jumping into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to be doing a technical analysis for SNDL Sundial growers. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at 82 cents, being up almost 5% on the day. On the low, it tested 78 cents, and then on the high, testing 82 cents. When we take a look at the volume stats, you can see we traded at 100.55 million shares, and taking a look at the average volume over 10 trading days, it was at 94.981 million shares. So it was well above the average, and of course you can see we ended up having a green day. Now when we take a look at the chart, we're using the 1-year daily chart. You can see from the RSI down below, it is right around 46.18. So what does this mean? Yes, it is in the oversold territory here. Now, when we take a look at the indicators on the chart, we are below the 100-day, we're also below the 200-day, and we're also below the 21-day EMA since it's at 83 cents and we closed at 82. So like I was saying previously, if you're loading up in the 70-cent range, then you're definitely doing yourself some good justice when you're inside of SNDL. But do keep in mind, you want to make sure you continue to keep some cash on the side because it is below the 200-day, so it could go down even lower. So when it gets to these particular areas, these are areas you want to watch out for, especially when we start getting that spike, or if we end up getting a catalyst. You could sell in the 80 range, the 90-cent range, and even around the $1 area when it does make those occasional pops, as you can see in the past. So with all of that said, as far as going into tomorrow, expect some volatility, but do keep in mind we have earnings that's going to be coming up, and also we have Canopy, which is and Kronos, I think was the other one, have earnings as well. So if it ends up being good for them, of course this will affect the entire industry, and SNDL can actually benefit from this. But do keep in mind we are going to have some resistance at this 200-day here, right at the 85-cent level. So around Fintel, we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and as well as the short interest information for SNDL. So as we scroll down on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So we can see here for today's date, which is August the 5th, we have Platform Technology Partners that went in with 12,952 shares. And then we also have CKW Financial Group with 1,240 shares. So with all that said, that's all we have for August the 5th. So as we scroll down and take a look at the short interest information here, you can see the short shares availability is at 8.8 million, updated 1 minute ago. And as far as for the short ball free rate, it is at 1.40%. Taking a look at the history of the short volume ratio, you can see for August the 4th, it's at 55.52, so that's a close. And as far as for the third, it was at 53.17. So it'll be very interesting to see what it will be later on in the evening, but we still see it did go up quite a bit. But like I said before, there's a lot of potential catalysts that can get SNDL moving very quickly here. And due to the fact that, again, there's so much short interest in the stock, this could be very beneficial, especially when we have a lot of volume coming in. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for SNDL. SNDL. So we could see here on the inflow, it's at 25.09, and then on the outflow, it's at 25.35. Now, keep in mind, this is in the millions. When we take a look at the numbers now, 0 on the large for both. As far as on the medium, we have 17.96, and on the small, we have a 7.13. On the medium side, on the outflows, it was 15.73, and on the small, it was 9.62. When we take a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, it continued to be zeros down the board, and pretty much it was a fairly even day, but it leaned more so in regards to outflows. But like I was saying before previously, we see a lot of activity that's going to be coming through the cannabis space. I was also talking about inside of the technicals, earnings. Not only does SNDL have earnings coming up, but we also have earnings coming from Canopy and as well as Kronos. So depending on how that actually turns out, this can have an impact on SNDL, and I want to make sure you're aware of this. So if you see any particular kind of movements, you are prepared and you are not surprised. And of course, other catalysts that can come inside the sector as far as legalization and all that. You guys already know. So let's jump into the final thoughts and go over some more details. So for my final thoughts for SNDL Sundial growers, you guys are seeing it everywhere inside of the media. At one moment, they're praising SNDL, and then in the next moment, they're putting SNDL down. There's a lot of FUD out there, but what I want you to do is to focus on the strategy. Be aware, and also be patient. One of the biggest issues, or I should say the biggest problems that you can have, especially if you have a short-term or medium-term strategy when it comes to this particular play, is being impatient. Buying on the highs, right, and then selling at a loss. You don't need to be doing that. Patience can help you out. Get rid of that FOMO. It's just not a great thing to actually have. I want to make sure you guys have good habits, you're patient, and you make sure that you maximize where you have your entries. So I was talking about buying SNDL when it's in the 70-cent range, and if you get it in this particular area, then you're setting yourself up very well, especially when it does spike. I see a lot of questions. So when do you think it's going to be getting above $1, at $1? I am not a psychic here, and I do not believe in selling you guys false hope. Do I believe that SNDL will hit $1? Of course it can. Of course it spikes. It's SNDL at the end of the day. But I'm not going to say, well, you know what? It's going to go to $1 next week or a month from now, because I feel that is very unfair, because then you're going to be looking forward to it, and then you're going to be like, hey, Dre, it's been a month and it still didn't go to $1. So that's part of the reasons why I don't do that. But from experience and from what we see inside of the technicals, and when we get certain catalysts coming through, SNDL can gain a lot of momentum, and that's the important thing you need to remember and focus on. So again, just be aware of that. When we went on Fintel, taking a look at the short interest information, of course, we still continue to have short squeeze potential. No surprise whatsoever. They're heavily vested, and this is part of the reasons why SNDL gets a ton of attention. We also do see, as far as institutions are concerned, they are purchasing shares. I know many of you might say, well, you know what, that's not a large amount. I got more shares than that. Of course, when it comes to institutions and firms, it's all about allocation. So we got to take that into consideration. But with all that said, it's going to be very interesting to see how it performs tomorrow with big time earnings coming from good sized cannabis companies, like I said, Canopy and as well as Kronos. So keep your eye on that. Keep it on your watch list. Of course you have it if you have a position as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll be talking real soon.